Today we're going to unbox Zero Leader, the World War II Pacific Theater solitaire game from Dan Verssen Games. This was sent to me complimentary of Dan Verssen Games, which I'm very, very appreciative of. First thing ever sent to me by a publisher. So, real excited about that. It has a little slip cover there. So this is basically Corsair Leader, which is part of DVG's Leader series. Corsair Leaders deals with the American forces during World War II in the Pacific, and this is the flip side of it. This is the Japanese perspective on the Pacific Theater. I have a little slip cover here, and it has some of the stuff that's on the some of the components here, some of your counters, like your target card, your airplane or pilot, his plane, and some of the weapons cards. If you're not familiar with the Leader series, it is a solitaire series, and it very much puts you into the cockpit, so to speak, of several pilots that are on missions. You're basically managing missions. You're managing kind of the logistics of arming your aircraft, deciding which missions to go on, how you're going to undertake the mission, how you're going to do the approaches, all those kind of things, and put you in that perspective. So that's the slipcover. I have another of the only other Leader series I have. I have Phantom Leader, which is similar. This deals with Vietnam, air combat. As I said, Corsair Leader deals with World War II. And then there is a modern version of the Leader series as well. These all started generally with Apache Leader, or Thunderbolt Apache Leader, which this was done by GMT Games back in the day. And this was dealing with an A-10 and some helicopters, Apache helicopters attacking in the Middle East, or doing missions in the Middle East. This system kind of changed somewhat when it went to these air specific Leader series, and became a little bit more focused on arming the weapons and taking the perspective of having having a target and then how you approach it. Whereas Apache Leader kind of follows like some of the tank Leader series that they have, because you have terrain and you that are represented by cards, and it's how you approach the terrain and move around in the terrain. This one, the terrain is, you have a target card, but the terrain is, there's really no terrain. You're over the ocean in most of these circumstances. So that is the context of this. Let's get into the box here. Real excited to get into this. As I said, I think I said I did an unboxing of an unboxing earlier, which you might have saw. And as I said, this was more than I expected and more than I deserve from DVG. So very appreciative of him sending this, and wanted to get a proper unboxing of this. And then also want to get some time on to get it to the table and get some play in. This is a little bit, and I might do a deep dive or a different view on Zero Leader, in that this is kind of takes a different approach, in that you're taking the opposite side. I mean, all war games, you have to play both sides, right? You got to play the Russians and the Germans in the East Front. You got to play the Allied forces and the Germans on the Western Front in World War II. So you're always playing the other side, even if it's not the other side is not necessarily the one you prefer to play. There's not a lot of games that let you put you in the role of the Japanese in the Pacific Theater during World War II. And this one, kind of, as a kid, there's not a lot out there. There's a few, and I might go into a discussion on that, but this is kind of unique in that respect. So there's a box. It's a big old thick box. I think this is like a 3-inch box there, because there's a lot of stuff in here. So you get the rule book. You get this is a mounted board here. This is dealing with your dogfights. This is something a little bit different that you don't have like in Phantom Leader. You have or the modern one. there's dogfights in here. So it brings in a different tactical aspect into the game where you're actually resolving a dogfight. And it brings in some of the elements of some of DVG's earlier games, like the Down in Flames series, which was a card game. It brings in a few of the aspects of that, of how you know, whether you're advantage or neutral or tailing, and some of the different maneuvers that you do on that. But that's a mounted board that deals with your dogfights. Here is the game board, again mounted. DVG does an excellent job of providing you with mounted content in their games. And as I said here earlier, there's not a lot of terrain. This is mainly a deal. You're over the ocean, right? So you put a target card there, whether it's a United States aircraft carrier, or it's a base or an air base or what have you. You're going to put a target card there, and then you do your different approaches. And then the defense is going to set up either bandits or bogies or whatever they're called, but the enemy aircraft or enemy anti-air installations or what have you, as in the approach. And so you're going to have your target deck, your event deck. Event, you draw those each turn. They're going to affect gameplay, and you have to react to it. There's turns. Each of the missions is going to have a certain turn level or turn limit. And then you've got your, with any good solitaire game, you have your order of play or your sequence of play here on the side that tells you how to do stuff. And so you got a pre-flight where you're doing all your logistics, and then you're debriefing where you're recording kind of what's happening with the mission. The actual gameplay is right here. But again, each mission is not necessarily that long. This is really meant to be kind of a solitaire experience over a campaign where you're going up against several different missions and managing your pilots and their stress level and casualties, and trying to get new pilots in there, and they might not be at the same level, and you know, building up your force that way and kind of managing it that way. So there's the mounted game board. Then you get several of the missions here. This is like a campaign. Here's the Coral Sea, and you'll go to different missions on that, but this is like the whole campaign here, and it tells you you know, what's available aircraft for you, and then what are the bandits going to be, you know, what are the allied forces are going to be over here, and the like. And you can kind of gives you the Coral Sea campaign, which it says here is introductory. These are one-sided because they'll be kind of on the table, because you're going to keep track of your recon and your intel, which is going to affect gameplay over the course of the game. These will change and based on missions and how you do, and then that's going to affect gameplay. You got midway, which is introductory again, and then you can choose whether you want to do like a short, medium, or long campaign, and it tells you, you know, how you do based on your victory points, how you did on that campaign. Like if you get 14 plus in a medium, then you did great. If you get 5 or less, you did dismal. So, and then there's some special rules for each of the campaigns as well. Guadalcanal, that's a standard campaign. Battle of Santa Cruz. So as you see, there's quite a few campaigns in here. Here's Pearl Harbor. So you can start the whole game off with that. Philippines, Wake Island. They said there's quite a few. This is skilled, so you're getting a little bit tougher campaign here. Expert. Okinawa. That was towards the end of the war. Home Island Defense. So you get quite a few campaigns in here. Rings Around Rabaul. Remember that from Flat Top. So then you get this record sheet that you can, this is thick. It's a little glossy paper, but you can Xerox this or copy this. I shouldn't use Xerox, it's a trademark. And keep track of your pilots and experience points gained and over missions. And this is kind of your player log, and also keep track of stress, because you know stress is going to take your pilots out of subsequent missions, and you have to kind of recover over that. And different pilot levels have stress differently or deal with stress differently. So that's something you can copy. Then you got your player help sheet, your crossover rules between Zero Attacker and Corsair Defender. So I guess maybe there's a combo for the game there if you're crossing over those. These are dual-sided there. Pilot skills. as I said, you can really customize your game. Here's key terms to help you during the game, but you can really customize this. This is a very immersive solitaire experience on managing, pilots. It's not just a single, aircraft game, like Wing Leader or something like that. This is, or even Down in Flames. This is a group of aircraft over a period of time to kind of give you a campaign feel. So there's 11 counter sheets here, and DVG pre-rounds their sheets. So you punch these out. You really don't need to clip them. They punch out pretty good, and they're relatively thick. As you see there's a really good thickness to these. You get weapon systems, planes. Then there's this new aspect that's unique to the Japanese, is the samurai spirit. So that's going to be like an extra resource that you use or pay to use with your pilots to do certain, to use maybe their skills or do certain things. Maintenance needed, maintenance crew. So there's a lot more logistics to this game than your other typical aircraft games. And dual-sided here. Then you get, here's your bandits. So this is a little bit different perspective. Those are the Japanese, and these are the Americans or the Allies. So if you were used to playing Corsair Leader, then this is definitely going to take some getting used to there. But you have all your stats on there. And again, the system is not that complex. I mean, it's based on a die roll. If you played the Leader series, you're very familiar with it. If you've played their Warfighter series, it's kind of a chart and a die roll to figure out. And here, like a lot of the stuff is on the counter itself. You just got to roll over that number over, and take them out or do some hits or whatever. It's not that complex once you get into it. But again, this is more of a putting all the pieces together, and it's more of a longer term experience, or solitaire campaign experience. Again, these are all double-sided. You get quite a few counters in here. I don't know how I'm gonna get all this back in the box, so I might end up getting some DVG trays, but this is probably gonna take, Phantom Leader took 2 DVG trays, and this has a lot more counters. I think this is gonna take maybe 3, maybe 4, 3 plus DVG trays. I don't know if I can fit all those in here and put the boards and the materials in the rule book back in there. So if you guys have any thoughts on how to store this or how you guys store it, let me know. I like to keep everything in the same box. I don't like having stuff separate. And I do that with expansion. If I buy an expansion, I like to shove it all in the box as well. Which reminds me, DVG sent me some expansion materials, so I'll do that in separate videos and kind of go over that. Which just adds to the gameplay here. I don't think it really changes a lot of rules. I think there's like a China campaign, and then there's new cards that add more goodness to the gameplay. Goodness if you like this game. If you don't like this game, then I don't know why you're watching this now. But as I said, there's a lot of, these are all the Japanese aircraft that you'll be putting out there. Then you got more bandits. And then you have some markers here. This is probably like some ground forces, and then some markers for the game there. So quite a bit in there. So now the key to this game is cards. A lot of cards here. Let's pull out some of these cards, and you get 2 10-sided die there. Put those over here. So you're going to have target cards, which are then airplanes. So this is a lot of different airplanes. And you're going to have multiple versions of these airplanes, because they're like, this is legendary level. You'll probably have like a green level or beginner level, and then a skilled level, and then on up. I mean, you'll have like, again, I don't know if this has more, because I don't remember legendary. Maybe there's 5 levels in this game, but normally there's like 3 to 4 levels of the different pilots, and as they get more skills and they get experience points and they advance, you go up to a higher level and you get better abilities. You know, you're able to take more stress. You can do certain things. Your speed and air to air and air to ground might change over time. You know, the ability of the plane itself stays pretty much the same probably. I mean, it's what is limited on that plane, but the pilot and how they can do things changes over time. And I believe this right here, I got to check on that, but I think this might be dealing with the new combat system, you know, the kind of the dogfighting system. I'm not sure there, might, but So that's an added. That's not in the, like, at least it's not in the Phantom Leader that I have, and I don't believe that's in the Corsair Leader. But so, like, say you have a newbie here, and then there's like legendary. So that there's different levels of the pilots, and there's just a lot of different planes. Most of these are the different planes that you get to do, because there's multiple versions of those planes. Let's get in this, look at the target card, and you're going to draw target cards, and then the target cards are going to be set up based on the scenario, based on, you know, what targets are available are going to be based on, you know, which campaign, and that's all in those campaign chart of what cards you put in here. Again, there's more airplane cards there, and then let's see here, we get target cards, and then event cards. So let's look at some of the target cards first here. So like this is a shore battery that you got to take out. It's going to have some special rules on it. It's going to give you VP, and talks about what bogeys are banned. Like this is going to have one bandit in the target area and one sight, and then there's going to be one sight in the approach. So that could be like a air-to-air, or it might even be like infantry or something. So infantry, you can fire on airplanes if you're like in the same area or something like that. But different things like strafing run. So there's different type of targets. You know, target's just not a specific area. It could be like a strafing run. So that's going to be kind of almost quasi-mission, but it's a target. Carrier defense. So that's, you know, airfield defense. So this got 3 bandits in the target area there. So as I said, there's a lot of different variety of targets, and they're going to be based in part on, you know, heavy bomber. They're going to be based in part on which campaign you pick. Then you get the event cards, which are going to change. You know, they could be good stuff, it could be bad stuff. A lot of times it's bad stuff, but it does certain things. You start off the game with drawing an event, and it's going to affect gameplay or affect the setup a little bit differently. Or might affect gameplay during like save this card, discard when you destroy a veteran. So, you know, it does stuff during the game, or helps you out during the game. So that's your event cards. The last thing here is the rule book. This looks pretty thick because they did add rules to this that are over and above Corsair Leader. It's 49 pages. Don't let that, you know, necessarily scare you, because there's a lot of charts in here, some tables. The rules, there's appendix there, so there's appendix A, so that's on 38. So optional rules on 37, trainee rookie expansion rules on 36, ace expansion rules, so really 34 pages, and it's dual column color. There's some big images or color images, there's examples. So again, it's not, don't let that kind of get to you or scare you. This is not that hard to get into of a game. There's a sequence of play. I wish I put that on the back. That'd been nice to have that there, although it is on the board as well. So as I said, there's some big 34, 36 pages, but there's some big graphics and explanation type things in there that don't take up that large part of the rule. I will say this, I haven't gotten into this rule book yet, but, you know, DVG, I do struggle with their rule book sometimes, in that they're not, they lay kind of everything out, but you kind of have to hunt and peck to go back and find it and figure where stuff's at. So when you're learning it for the first time, it's not as intuitive of like, oh, this is how this works. You kind of have to go through the rule book a couple of times and kind of figure stuff out. They don't do like a playbook like some of the other game companies that kind of walk through a play, and so it teaches you exactly how to play it, and then you go back to the rule book as a reference. This one, you kind of have to, you know, go through it. Now, they might have improved this on this rule book, I'm not sure. But again, it's not insurmountable. I mean, their games are approachable and you can get into it, and the rule books is a good reference. But again, you know, I have, and I know others have kind of struggled with their rule books in the past, and that they're not as intuitive of learning how to play the game. And their games are somewhat different. They're not your standard war games where it's, you know, hex encounter and a combat results chart. It's, again, they have the solo systems, or systems actually, they have some different systems, but this one is a system that you kind of have to learn the mechanics of the sequence. Then once you figure that out, then it becomes pretty second nature. The dogfight's going to take a little bit more to figure out in this, but again, I don't think it's that difficult. So anyway, that's what you get in a box of 0 liter. Hopefully I did a proper unboxing on this. As you can see, there's a lot in here. I mean, look at that. There's a lot in here to get into, and a lot of replayability. If you've never gotten into any of their games, there is you can play the same campaigns over and over again and still have different results, because there's different target cards or different events, or you might use different pilots, or you might develop differently. So even just the individual campaigns, there is a lot of replayability in this box. But then you have several campaigns in here to go over. Then there's some expansion material that I'll get into. This probably going to add in maybe more events or more targets. Maybe it definitely adds in, like the China expansion adds in the air missions over China. So there's a lot here. So again, unique perspective. You're looking at from the Japanese perspective. Not a lot of games doing that. It's solitaire, it's campaign, it's a lot of content in here. So that's what you have. I hope that this was helpful to you. Love to hear your comments. As always, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.